Hey guys, welcome back. If you hear an obnoxious noise outside, I think somebody's being murdered in a wood chipper, but, well, I've got things to do. I can't really worry about that right now. Today, a little bit of news, and we're going to continue forward with the new review of Asghar Farhadi's movie, Everybody Knows. The news real quick, we learned through work that this week we're going to be traveling to Pittsburgh, D.C., Charleston, Philadelphia, D.C. again. So a lot of flights here coming up, and by the time that you're seeing this, I'm probably on a plane trying desperately not to get sick. So it's gonna be a long week here. We got a few reviews lined up and probably some things we're gonna do while we're on the road. But like I said, we're gonna start it off with a new movie. Javier Bardem, Penelope Cruz. You don't know? Everybody knows.
I don't know what to say.
Everybody Knows is a film by the Iranian director Asghar Farhadi. And it is very interesting in several ways. One is that going into it, I kind of intentionally chose to know nothing about it. My girlfriend wanted to see it, and when I know I'm gonna see a movie, I don't go through the work of like watching a trailer, reading up on it, because to me, that really just has the risk of spoiling something, and if I'm already kind of doomed or committed to see it, what's the point in even risking that? So going into it, I had kind of an idea of the type of movie, like the tonality of it, given how she spoke about it, and given the cast to an extent. But really, I wasn't prepared for it. I think that's one of the best ways to see the movie. So as per usual, I'm gonna try to stay light on any spoilers. I think one of the best ways that I can describe Everybody Knows is that it reminded me of Twin Peaks in the sense that it uses tragedy as a way of not really creating a thriller or a crime drama or an action, but it uses the backdrop of a tragedy to really explore characters and to drag out information and secrets that maybe these characters hold from each other, and information that really helps to elucidate throughout the course of the movie who these people are, how they're tied together, and to really create sort of a very personal family drama. Everybody Knows is a movie about a family led by the matriarch Penelope Cruz, who goes back to her hometown in Spain from Argentina, bringing her young son, young daughter, and reuniting with her sister's cousins for this wedding that's about to happen. And while she's there, she reunites with a childhood friend and lover named Paco, played by Javier Bardem, who you may know from No Country for Old Men, or if you're really just stretching for a reference, he was the bad guy in Skyfall. Fantastic actor, and I think the wood chipper's off. That's good. He's a fantastic actor, and he helps to really carry this movie. And Penelope Cruz as well is fantastic. And I feel in some ways she reminds me of Colin Farrell in the sense that whenever she gets to go back to her native language, she just seems so much more comfortable, and I really enjoy kind of watching her. But I really enjoyed seeing her in the Versace miniseries on FX, the American Crime Story. It was really interesting with her. So I don't know, maybe she's just... I don't know, maybe I'm just enjoying the roles she's taking lately. I don't know why I'm talking so much about Penelope Cruz. Tragedy strikes as you kind of expect. I mean, the way the film is set up, it's only the first 15 or 20 minutes, but even without seeing a trailer or something, it kind of felt to me like those movies from the 70s where it's a build up to a plane crash or like a giant car accident on the highway, where I just felt like something awful was gonna happen. And at first I thought maybe I was taking in too much information. There's too many characters, too many things happening, too much backstory, and it's happening so fast that I really didn't feel grounded. But by the time the movie really takes off and the spark is sent in the air, the match is lit, I felt pretty well up to speed. I felt like it was a really good place to begin this sort of mystery that unfolds from there. It's sort of the inverse of Greta, which we talked about last week. I wouldn't say that the third act is bad or anything, but it's definitely a movie that has a really solid premise and really solid characters, and then for whatever reason just feels like it runs out of steam maybe 2/3 of the way through, which is kind of a bummer. But I already talked about Twin Peaks, and I don't think I said kind of enough about that. I'm a huge fan of that show, and I think one of the great things about it is when David Lynch and Mark Frost talk about creating it, it's really the idea that it's a show about resolving a murder. And the reality is they never really wanted to resolve the murder. It's just something that perpetually propels the show forward and creates new characters. It gives you a reason to explore this small town. And this movie, Everybody Knows, is very much the same. Every character kind of has twists, turns, there's betrayals in this family as well as with Paco's family and how he's kind of involved with, the patriarch of Penelope Cruz's family. There's a lot of conversations about past relationships. So there's a lot of internal drama and struggle that I think was really interesting and was explored in interesting ways. Again, though, I just feel like maybe it tried to flesh out some situations a bit more than it should. In other words, if you told me to do a detective story and I only had 90 minutes, I might spend 10 minutes about this character's relationship to like a side character, but it has to have a purpose. It has to draw something out in who our protagonist is, or I have to learn something about the case. Because really, while all these side characters are interesting and important to making the film feel fully fleshed out, kind of giving a certain subplot too much time really takes away from the core of what we're trying to do. So too much information in not enough time is bad, and not enough information in too much time is also bad. So this film kind of just, it was a bit thick, where I think it could have had some time cut out of it. The good news is I think it really should have broad appeal. I mean, the acting is really interesting. The story is well told. I feel like I've kind of seen the concept played around with before, but this to me still felt new and innovative. And the biggest thing that I was hoping for is, as the film did feel long, as the film really did deal with all this information, these secrets, this subterfuge, betrayals between all these people, I was really worried that the film would end itself on sort of like a twist ending or a shock. And I feel like the ending, like I talk about with jump scares, it was earned. The ending was earned. It didn't feel like it was a cheap way out. I didn't feel like it was tacky. So I think I got the resolution I wanted at the end of the movie. And the biggest complaint that I would say is just that I think I left the theater not feeling like the most interesting part of the ending is what would have happened, 3-5 days after the film concluded. Really about how these characters respond to all of the changes and all of the revelations that occur during the course of the film. This is definitely something that I think is interesting and that I think a lot of people would enjoy. I think there was a lot of opportunity for it to be great. And I think that while the fact that it didn't take advantage of that was disappointing, I mean, it was still a very interesting movie and viewing experience. And I think for me, the biggest thing is, even when it felt like it was going long, I still felt glued to my chair and kind of waiting to see what would happen next. So for people who like films like that, people who like mysteries, especially people who, like to see Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz kind of eat up scenery, I mean, this is one of the best opportunities I've seen for them to really just rock a roll. I think this is something that a lot of people would enjoy. I think the biggest, negative that I can think of, because I have a lot of friends who really like to have movies that don't let off the pedal. I think trying to imagine how they would respond to a movie like this, I would just say, like I said earlier, I think it may drag a bit for some people, but with the exception of a few scenes that go on a bit long or a few minutes where I was kind of impatiently waiting to see what would happen next, it is an interesting movie and one of the rare types of mysteries that I think I would actually like to see again. I think oftentimes certain movies are compelling because of kind of the device. I would say Gravity's kind of like that, albeit it's not a mystery, but it's kind of like a roller coaster. Once you see how it plays out, you really have no interest in going back. Once you learn the twists, you have no interest in going back. This is a movie to me that is so genuine and it didn't feel forced, it didn't feel trite, that I think it's just, it was something that I would go back to. And that's not something I say often on this show. So if you have a chance to see Everybody Knows, I think you should. I think I've been pretty positive so far. So if you're not sold on this, I mean, what can I say? Everybody knows. And if you don't know, now you know.